Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors because they might be back. They've been playing really good basketball recently after really struggling for the first couple months of the season. And now, potentially, they could be back and they could be putting themselves in a great place come playoff time. And we're going to talk all about that, what's been leading to that here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Links to my Twitter, description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So the Warriors have not been great this year. You know, they've been kind of struggling around 500 to below 500. Had a couple injuries, a couple players that, you know, haven't really been themselves, not really playing as well as we're used to seeing them play this season. It's just been a big struggle for the Warriors this season. Put together different lineups, players not happy, you know, suspensions going on. Again, players not playing up to their standard, all the stuff like that. There's been a lot of stuff going on in Golden State as of recently this season. And it's been bringing a lot of questions to the table, like how long is Klay Thompson going to be around? Is this the end of the dynasty? You know, are they going to go with the young players? Are they going to make a move to, are they going to trade the young players and buy in another all-star like player? Like, what's really going to happen with Golden State? Didn't make any moves to the trade deadline. It's like, okay, what's going to happen? But as of recently, they've been starting to put it together since the month of February started. Since the month of February, from February 2nd, which was their first game in February, till now, they've gone 13-4 in these last 17 games, which is the most wins in the stretch of games by any team. It's like, I think, one of the best, like third or fourth best record since February started. And they're starting to put it together and look like a really good team, getting some good wins. They beat the 76ers by a lot. They beat the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. They had a good win against Phoenix by 1. That was a classic game. They beat the Lakers in this stretch. They beat the Knicks, Raptors. They beat the Bucks. Last night's Bucks win was the most impressive win, I feel like, for me on the Warriors this season. They beat the Bucks 125-90, especially a Bucks team that had been starting to put it together, that was undefeated since the start of the All-Star break. And they came in, and Bucks and the Warriors dominated them. You know, Steph had a really good game in this one. He had 29 points. Jonathan Kampinga got off to a great start. Trace Jackson-Davis was big in this one. Klay Thompson and Chris Paul were doing their thing. Draymond was being Draymond. It was a really good game from Golden State. And that was honestly the most impressive win. And now, looking at their record, all of a sudden they jumped all the way up to 33-28. Their most games they've been above 500 this season. They're 5 games above 500. And now they overtook the Lakers at the 9th spot, especially with the Lakers losing last night. And they're tied in the loss column with the 8 seed Dallas Mavericks. They're only a half game behind the Mavericks for the 8th spot, and not that far out of being a 7 or even a 6 because of how close the middle of the Western Conference is right now. So the Warriors have a real chance maybe to be jumping up and maybe could miss the play-in potentially and could be above the play-in, which is insane to think about. If we would have told you that in like a month or two ago, you would have been like, you're crazy, you know? But yeah, I want to go through some of those numbers since that time, since the start of February. The last 17 games, they've gone 13-4. Here are their numbers in that stretch of time. Offensively, they're the 11th best offense, so good offense. You know, the offensive numbers are 7th in points per game, 5th in field goals made, 2nd in field goal attempts. The 3 ball has been dominant, 2nd in 3-pointers made, 2nd in 3-point attempts, 8th in 3-point percentage. Their rebounding has been really good, which they've been a really good rebounding team this year, despite being very small, obviously. And with Kevon Looney not playing as much anymore, Trace Jackson-Davis is kind of taking that role a little bit. They have Draymond starting at center now as a lineup change. But they're still a really good rebounding team. They're the best rebounding team in the NBA in that stretch of time. They're 6th in offensive rebounds, 2nd in defensive rebounds. They've been 1st in assists per game in this stretch. So it's been really good. And they're 3rd in pace as well. But it's not just been their offense, it's been their defense that's really taken a step because they have a top 5 defense since February started. Number 5 defense, or 5th in net rating, and their defensive numbers don't really stick out crazy, but the things that do are they're 5th in opponent field goal percentage and 2nd in opponent 3-point percentage. So they're not letting teams shoot the ball well against them. And combine that with their rebounding, combine that with, you know, how explosive their offense can be at some points, it's a recipe for success. And the Warriors might have found their way. The Warriors might have found the key to success and found their way back into this playoff mix, back like firmly in this playoff mix. They've been playing really, really good. And that's been for a couple reasons. Steph Curry obviously has still been great. Still averaging 27, 4 and 5, shooting 45% from the field, 41% from three. He's been amazing as well. I mean, he's always going to be amazing. But it's been the others. The others have really stepped up and kind of are a lot more comfortable and are playing a lot bigger of a role. And one of that is Jonathan Kaminga. Kaminga, of course, he was a lottery pick a couple years ago, the first couple years. He's had some opportunity, but not really as much opportunity as people thought he should be getting. And then this season, there's a game against the Denver Nuggets that happened back in, I want to say, late December or early January. Happened in December, on Christmas. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Nope, it was in January, early January, where the Warriors blew a lead to the Denver Nuggets, and he only played in 18 minutes, even though he was playing really well. And then after that, it came out saying that Jonathan Kaminga doesn't really believe in Steve Kerr and doesn't think that Steve Kerr and his coaching staff can give him can really fulfill his potential that he has. He doesn't believe in the coaching staff anymore. And since then, after that game, he played the most minutes he's ever played in a game this season, 35 minutes. And since then, he's been put in the starting lineup. He's been playing a lot more minutes, and he's been balling. Since that happened, he's played in 27 games since then. He started in 22 of them. And in that stretch, he's averaging 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting 55% from the field, 34% from 3, 77% from the free throw line. He's been consistent in there. He's now moved to the starting power forward, even with Draymond Green back. Draymond has moved to the center position, and he's been balling. I mean, he's had some big games. He had a stretch where, he had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row with 20 or more points. Since then, and in that stretch, he averaged 25 points per game. He's still been really good. He had 20 last night. He's had 20 in 4 of the last 5 games. He has been really, really good, and we're finally seeing the true Jonathan Kaminga that we all thought we were going to see. You know what I mean? He's been aggressive. He's been attacking the rim at a very high level. He's been shooting the 3 ball okay. He's been getting to the free throw line, being more aggressive. Defensively, he's been good. He's been rebounding the ball very well as well. Defensively, he's been kind of locked in. He's been playing the most confident basketball probably he's played in his NBA career so far. And he's being really effective. He's been him kind of being unlocked a little bit and kind of, given this opportunity, has shown the Warriors, hey, remember we got these young guys, right? They can help us still. Kind of showing Steve Kerr, hey, the young guys can help us. They're here for a reason. You know what I mean? Now it took, again, Jonathan Kaminga literally publicly calling out Steve Kerr for them to do it. But nonetheless, he did it. And now he's playing really good basketball, and he's been really contributing to this Warriors' success. Another thing has been Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, we all know, has not had the greatest season this year. He's not been shooting the ball super well. And, of course, he's got pending free agency coming back up. And there's been questions about, is Klay Thompson going to be a Warrior after this season? So they made the move to bring him off the bench, and it's been looking pretty effective. In the 9 games since moving to the bench, he started in 2 of the 9 because Brandon Podziemski got injured. But in this little stretch of him kind of moving towards a bench role, he's been averaging 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 46% from the field and 43% from 3, 100% from the free throw line. The 3-point percentage and the efficiency has been a big thing, and the biggest thing of all in that factor, the Warriors are 7-2 in that stretch. Specifically, when he comes off the bench, they are 5-1. I'm sorry, 6-1. 6-1. Says he's come off the bench. The only loss was to Denver. He has been brought into this role. He's been playing very well, and it kind of gives him a new confidence, give him a new energy, being all right, I'm off the bench now. I got to work my way back up to the starting lineup, or maybe something like that, or maybe I got to do what's right for the team. But he's building with more confidence. He's shooting the ball more efficiently. And that's a big sign. If he can kind of go to that bench role and kind of contribute in that way and be happy with it, and the team is better with it, then maybe that could prolong his career. Maybe, the future in Golden State doesn't seem so, there's a higher possibility of a chance in Golden State for the future instead of him having to leave to get money. You know what I mean? Another factor has been Draymond Green. Obviously, we know that he's been in that lineup due to, acts that not due to suspensions. Him not being able to control himself on the court, all this stuff like that. And there's no surprise that he's a key piece of this team. I mean, they don't win 4 championships without him. You know what I mean? And when he's played this year, they've been a better team, which, wow, big surprise, When Draymond Green has played this season, he's 22-15. The Warriors are 22-15, but specifically since he's come back from suspension, the Warriors are 15-7. So since he's come back from his suspension, he's been moved to the starting center spot. They're 15-7. and he's been playing really good basketball. He's averaging 9, 7, and 5. He's shooting 50% from the field and 44% from 3 this year on 2 attempts per game. So maybe Draymond is locking back into that 2015, 2016 mode when he can hit threes. But if he can do that, that's big. But of course, I mean, Draymond is a huge factor on this team. You know, when he's out there and playing, he does so many little things that not many people can do on offense and defense that just brings this team all together. So obviously, you need him on the court if you want to be the best team you can be. And Draymond, you know, coming back has made this team a lot better. There's been a couple other things as well. Chris Paul is back now after missing a whole lot of time due to a hand injury. And since he's come back, he's been all right. You know, he's played in 5 games. He's averaging 8 points, 6 assists, 2 steals, 40% from the field, and 43% from 3, which is big because he was not shooting the ball super well from 3 when he was playing. So him coming back and being efficient is big. But yeah, he controls the bench really well. You know, obviously, they got a young bench now with, you know, Moses Moody is playing a little more, Trace Jackson-Davis is playing a little more, and Chris Paul is kind of like the conductor of all that. So him coming off the bench and the Warriors just being okay at the bench minutes is so big because Warriors are usually a team that when Steph Curry comes out, all hell breaks loose. It's like nothing seems to work. But now, of course, with Chris Paul here, they brought him in to kind of help that bench mold and help that bench be just average. And it's been solid. So Chris Paul is doing his job. But the young guys breaking out is really a big thing for me. You know, of course, talked about Jonathan Kampinga, but Brandon Pajemski, what a pick he was at 19. He was a guy doing my draft process stuff and looking at, you know, scouting and stuff like that. I was really interested to see where he would fit in to the league because at Santa Clara, he was kind of like a guy that had the ball in his hands a lot. He would work in the post a lot. He'd rebound a lot. I was like, how is he really going to contribute to the NBA level? You know, like, not saying he's going to be bad, but I'm just saying I was really interested to see how he was going to fit in to an NBA level. And he's been outstanding. I mean, he's averaging, the numbers don't look crazy. 9, 5, and 4, 45% from the field, 36% from 3, 61% from the free throw line. Got to get that better. But he just makes so many impactful plays. He's a guy that he plays like any playoff team would want. You know, like he's a role player that any playoff team would want. He's that type of player. You know, he's a guy that does so many different things. He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He can move off the ball and shoot. He can, you know, make the right passes. He's had a couple double-doubles this season with rebounds and with assists. You know, like he can pass the ball, make winning plays, passing. He doesn't need to shoot the ball all the time and have the ball all the time in his hands to impact the game. Defensively, he can hold his own even though he's only 6'4". He rebounds the ball very, very well despite being small. I mean, last year at Santa Clara, he averaged 10 rebounds per game as a 6'4" guard. You know, like he can rebound the ball really, really well. Defensively, he's been there. He takes charge. I think he leads the league in charges taken. Like he does so many little things that impacts the game, which is a player that the Warriors really need, especially him being a young player and bringing that young energy to this team. He's been huge, and now he's starting over Klay Thompson. He's starting over Klay Thompson because he's been doing so many key things for this Warriors team that has helped them win games. So he's been big. Trace Jackson-Davis as well, their other rookie. He was, I think, one of the last picks in the draft. He was the 57th overall pick, which is still crazy to me that he fell to 57, even though he was a 4-year college guy and kind of was a dude that, you know, that center, big man in Indiana that was kind of back to the basket type of post game, can't shoot the ball. So it was like, how is he really going to fit in to the NBA as well? Even though I think he could have found a role, but I was like, I already know where to fit in, and he was a legendary player at Indiana. The Warriors got a steal, man. He's come in, averaging 6'4", 69% from the field. He's been the center that they've wanted and they haven't really had. The athletic center. Like, of course, they've had good centers. Kevon Looney is a great center. Draymond Green playing center. But they haven't had a guy like that probably since JaVale McGee. You know, just a guy that you could throw the ball up to and he can go get it. And that's what Trace Jackson-Davis does. You know, the Warriors throw the ball up to him, go get it. He blocks shots really well and rebounds really well despite only being 6'9" at the big and playing more of a power forward center, I feel like, at Indiana. But he has been really, really good for the Warriors. And he's been, you know, a guy that he's taking some of Kevon Looney's minutes. Kevon Looney isn't nearly playing as much as he used to. And that's because Trace Jackson-Davis has come in. And he's been a younger, more athletic version of Kevon Looney. Kind of a dynamic at the center spot they haven't had in a very long time. So the young guys playing really well is a big factor. Moses Moody as well, when he's got his opportunity, has been solid. Gary Payton II is back too. And he's a very big part of this Warriors team. Even though, of course, numbers-wise and stuff, you won't really think of him. But he makes so many impactful plays and does little things for the Warriors because he's been in that system so long. and the Warriors the Warriors system fits him so much more because he's a smaller, athletic. He's like a 6'2" power forward, dang near. Like they play him at the big man, power forward, small forward position because they're small, but also because he can do it because he's so athletic and defends the ball really well. And yeah, he's a guy that is really a key part of this Warriors team. Like when he plays in 27 games this year, they're 16-11. So like he's a big part of this team. But the Warriors they found their groove. I think Steve Kerr has figured out what lineups work, what players don't work in this lineup. They're healthy now, which is of course huge for any team. And they're starting to find their rhythm, find their groove, and kind of playing that Warriors basketball that we all know they can play. And now all of a sudden, we look like a month or two ago, they were sitting at 10th in the West, and things were now looking great. We're thinking, are they going to trade Klay at the trade deadline? Is this the end of the big three? But now you look a couple months later, we're in early March, and all of a sudden they're fighting for a spot at 6 potentially. So right now they're 33-28. Dallas is 34-28 at the 8 spot. Sacramento's 35-26 at 7, and then Phoenix is 36-26 at 6, and then New Orleans is 37-25 in 5th. So the West is super, super, super close right now, and the Warriors, of course, they still have a lot of stuff to do, but they have kind of put themselves in there, and now it's not out of the question that they could jump. You know what I mean? And one thing that is in their favor as well into jumping is, so I like looking at remaining schedules and stuff like that, especially we get to now at this point of the season. But they have the 28th hardest schedule. So basically means they have one of the easiest schedules left in the NBA this year. 28th. Only Brooklyn and Boston have easier schedules left. But the Warriors have an easy schedule left, which could make things really, really interesting in that spot in the West. I'm looking at some of their next games. Their next 3 games, they play Chicago and San Antonio back-to-back. Those are 3 easily winnable games. Now, of course, Chicago, they're a team that, especially in the fourth quarter, they can take some games. Of course, the Spurs with Wemby, you never know what's going to happen. But those are 3 right there, easy winnable games. Then after that, they have a tough stretch. They go against Dallas and the Lakers back-to-back and the Knicks, which we don't know what Knicks team are getting with injuries and stuff like that. Then after that, they play Memphis, which could be a good win. Then you got Indiana, Minnesota, Miami, Orlando, 4 straight playoff teams, so that's going to be tough. But then the last couple games of the season aren't really that much. After that stretch, they play Charlotte, San Antonio back-to-back. Then they play Dallas. Then they play Houston, Dallas again, Utah, the Lakers, and then Portland, New Orleans, and Utah. So they don't have all. Of course, they have some tough games in there. They got the Lakers 2 more times. They got the Mavericks 3 more times, actually, against the Mavericks. They got a Minnesota game. Orlando isn't easy. Miami isn't easy. Indiana isn't easy. Even the Grizzlies aren't an easy win, obviously. But it could get a lot worse. You could be the Suns, who have the second hardest schedule left, and they got to play the Clippers, the Timberwolves, and the Celtics twice more. Like it could be a lot worse. And they have the easiest schedule left in the Western Conference. So things could start looking up for the Warriors. They already are, but if they do, let's say they do, how many games they have left? They have 33-28. That would be 61. So they have like 21 games left. If they can go above 500 and really above 500 in those 21 games, they can go like 13-8 or even like 14-7 or maybe even more, depending on how things work. Like things, it could be a lot more complicated in that Western Conference mid-playoff race than actually, we actually thought it was going to be. Even though it already is super complicated. But now add the Warriors and the Lakers are playing well in the mix. It's going to be tough. But the Warriors, they're starting to figure it out. They're playing really well. And they might be back. Who knows? This next stretch, we're going to see. But the Warriors might be back. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you enjoyed the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. Really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.